Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community.
A lot of black people are really starting to ask that question. Should we all vote as a voting bloc, or should we start asking the Democrats to court our vote? What is blackness? Is it that I have to believe a certain set of things? And if that set of things is listed somewhere, let me know so that I might renew my black card. Okay, peace family. My name is Christina Victoria, and I am back with another one. And today, I have a simple question, which is, what does it mean to be black? And why do black people have to all think the same way, act the same way, and who told us that we all have to be a monolith? Who told us that if you are not thinking a certain way, that you are not black? Now, before we get into the video, as always, wishing you, your loved ones, and even those outside of your tribe, and even your enemies, abundant life, love, joy, peace, and prosperity, and even to me. So I wanted to make this quick video to ask the question, what does it mean to be black? And is blackness a philosophy? Is it a heritage? Is it some type of culture? And I wanted to ask the question in light of the most recent videos I've been making and some comments I've received personally about my own blackness and whether I'm even black. And regarding President Joe Biden, now president, he was vice president when he first made this comment that if you have to even ask the question of whether you're going to vote for him or Biden,
and you ain't black,
you aren't even black, right? It should be a no-brainer because all black people should inherently be Democrats. And so I wanted to ask this question in light of the fact that I have been a lifelong Democrat. I have been working on campaigns. I have voted for Democrats this whole time. I've worked on Democratic campaigns. Anyone in Atlanta who has known me over the past few years, I've been outside of the party, just kind of independent. But if you've known me since, I got into Atlanta, I started out in the church, in the black church. I moved from California to Atlanta specifically because I wanted to be around the black community. And I started preaching. I started working in black churches, and then decided I wanted to get involved in politics, started working in Democratic politics, started being involved in the Young Democrats, the Democratic Party, worked on Democratic campaigns, Democrats' Faith and Values Conference, all of the above. And I find it fascinating that I make one video about the black community, and suddenly I just discovered that I am not actually black. Now, I wanted to read to you guys this comment that I received from someone named Alan Holiday, and he said, in response to my video about Fani Willis and Tiffany A. Henyard, that, I quote, "You have never seen black peoples as being your people. Give me a break." And so it made me really think about, I don't know this person, he doesn't know me, so I'm really asking, what would make someone say that? Now, is it that you don't like my philosophy, so my philosophy isn't black? I really hope that this person was not making a commentary about my skin color, but, I find it interesting, right, that someone can have a legacy of work, talking about myself, a legacy of work only in the Democratic Party, right? And I've had multiple comments talking about, well, you must be a Trump supporter, all of this, right? I have been a Democrat this whole time. And because I have decided to think for myself, suddenly I must be MAGA, I must be a Republican, all of a sudden I'm not for black people, when this whole time I literally moved to Atlanta so that I could be amongst black people, and my entire career has been either trying to help the black community, help ourselves, right, through the church or through democratic politics. And the moment I ask a simple question and really start to look at things critically and think for myself, then all of a sudden I'm no longer Black. And so I really wanted to ask the question to you all: what is Blackness? What does it mean to be Black? You know, I always was of the understanding that Blackness is an ancestry, right? So when we call people Black, what we mean is that these are the people who are descendant from Africa. And so we sometimes use the term African American, right? But that means people of African ancestry. That's what I thought Black meant. But over the years, it appears that Blackness has taken something other than simply being of Black African ancestry. So for example, when you take the first Black president of the United States, who was obviously Bill Clinton, right? Y'all remember, some of y'all may or may not remember. I'm old enough to remember when Bill Clinton was president, and I'm old enough to remember, I know I look young, y'all, but I'm old enough to remember when people, before Barack Obama was ever, we even knew who he was, right? Before he was even a senator, people were calling Bill Clinton the first Black president. Now, Bill Clinton, I know y'all know who he is, but Bill Clinton is a white man from Arkansas, right? Now, why is it that we said that he was the first Black president? I think it was because he played the saxophone and because he was cool. Like, is that, I think that's what it is. Then he ended up having the Monica Lewinsky scandal and with the cigar and all of that, you know, and was impeached. So I don't know if it's that, but you know, I distinctly remember when people in the Black community said that Bill Clinton was the first Black president simply because he played the saxophone and because he was cool. And so it's like, it feels, and y'all, I know y'all gonna come for me in the comments, and that's fine, but it feels like Blackness is no longer associated with your ancestry and is more associated nowadays with a culture, right? Do it for the culture, right? Now, I live in Atlanta. Atlanta influences everything. I'm with the culture, right? But it's like there's this in crowd and out crowd that we've determined, and you're in the in crowd if you are a liberal Democrat, right? And
if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't Black,
you are a free-thinking Black person, then you're a coon. You are Uncle Tom. You're all these things, and people have no problem at all with just dragging Black Republicans, Black conservatives, and just talking them, calling them anything outside of a child of God, right? Simply because they're a conservative. And I'm really trying to comprehend where that came from and why we feel such comfort with saying that Blackness is more of a philosophy or more of a culture than it is an ancestry. Now, I'm speaking again as someone who's been a lifelong Democrat and who has been again, I was wondering why my last couple videos started to get the views that they have, and I think part of it is because a lot of people in Atlanta know me as a Democrat. And that's all that I've done since I've been in Atlanta, is work in Democratic politics and work in the party, within the party, right? Not like, oh, I just vote Democrat. I mean, like, within the actual party. That's what I have been doing in Atlanta, okay? And so, again, I'm not even, it's just funny to me, right? Because I haven't even come out as a Republican. I'm not saying that I'm a Republican. I haven't, said anything about Trump whatsoever. But simply the fact that I'm asking questions about Black politicians, and simply the fact that I'm asking questions about the ethics of someone who happens to be persecuting Trump, that means I must automatically be a Republican, and that I must not be Black, and that I must not have the Black community at heart, because obviously we're a monolith, and the Democrats have told us that, if you, again, President Biden has told me, right, that if I'm even contemplating anything other than the Democratic Party,
and you ain't Black,
then I am not Black. And my question is, where did that philosophy come from? And are y'all really okay with that? And I'm at the point now where I really am wondering, I'm kind of looking side-eye at the Democratic Party right now, and I'll be honest with you about that. And I've been kind of trying to toe the line. I've been trying to toe the line, right? I'm like, let me just kind of like, not say too much. Let me just keep it right in the middle. because I don't want people to think that I'm a Republican, right? I don't want people to think that I'm MAGA. I don't want people to think that I'm a Trump supporter, right? Because of my own fear. And it has been so ingrained into my own mind that even asking these questions is not allowed, right? It's not allowed. Don't do that. Shh, don't do that. I was watching Charlemagne the God in the Breakfast Club, where someone brought up like a trans issue. Like they were comparing like Rachel Dolezal. They were asking about Rachel Dolezal and how she identifies as Black, right? And so I think a woman came up there and was asking, well, what's the difference between being transracial and transgender? She didn't even get a chance to ask the question, and he was like,
There's no such thing as transracial, but there's such thing as transgender.
Hey, shut up. You shut up.
Is that what it is? No, I'm saying, how can it be a transgender community but it ain't transracial?
It's enough.
It's enough. Let people be Black.
That's right. Let
That's
her be.
right. She's white.
That's all we saying. Let her be what she want to be. If she want to identify as Black, she can identify as
You
Black.
can't pick and choose when you want to be Black.
Man, why can't you? Let her
But
be.
you can.
Okay.
All right, we better wrap this up.
shh, don't say that. Don't say that. Shh, no, shh, no, shh, shh, shh. Don't say that. We can't talk about that. And I'm really trying to understand who decided that Black people have to be a monolith and why we bought into that. Because as far as I'm concerned, as of today, I'm not sure that the Democratic Party really has the best interest of Black people at heart. I don't know if they're really demonstrating that. And, you know, I and a lot of people generationally have been voting for the Democratic Party consistently for like 30 to 40 years. I mean, I'm thinking since the Civil Rights Movement, we've been voting Democrat with the belief that the Democratic Party has our best interest at heart and the Republicans are racist, right? That has been the narrative this whole time. The Democratic Party has our best interest at heart and the Republicans are racist. But here we are in 2024, and, you know, the Black community has so many different issues, even though we've been voting for the Democrats this whole time, right? We have rampant crime. We have school districts are not doing well in a lot of communities, right? You know, and it's like, I'm really sitting here wondering, our president is telling me that I must not be Black because I'm really looking side-eye at the Democratic Party right now. But what have they really done for us over the past 30 to 40 years, you know? And I think that it has come to a point where a lot of Black people are really starting to ask that question: should we all vote as a voting bloc, or should we start asking the Democrats to court our vote? And I'm at the point where I am of the belief that we should ask the Democratic Party to court our vote. You need to court my vote. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to be a Democrat or a Republican. I'm saying I have decided to be an independent, which is why I've decided to wear my pretty green, you know, today, just to kind of make a statement that, you know, why is it that we have to be Democrats, and why is it so bad to ask the question, and who told us that? And so I wanted to bring up the Willie Lynch letters, and I know that there is some debate as to whether they are authentic, whether they were really written a long time ago, or whether they are like a not a fraud, but whether there's something that someone wrote to kind of make a statement about the community. Regardless of the authenticity of this document, this is a very powerful document, and I think that it really highlights a lot of the dynamics in the Black community. And some of the dynamics that I feel like I'm starting to see happening to me as I just simply ask questions. And, you know, I get it. I'm not the darkest skinned person in the world, you know, but, you know, I don't have any white relatives. Zero. Like, I have 0 white relatives. So I have actually done my ancestry and have found that my ancestors, so my mother, my last name is Mills. I used my mother's last name. Her great-grandmother's last name was Tatnall. Now, I traced back our ancestry, and it turns out that there is a plantation in Georgia. So I'm not originally from Georgia. I grew up in I was born in San Francisco, grew up in California, right? But somehow I ended up moving to Atlanta because I wanted to have, you know, be around more Black people and be around Black excellence. And I do my ancestry, and it turns out that our family, at least on my mother's side, is actually from a plantation in Brunswick, Georgia, where they are. It's the Tatnall plantation, right? And that's the last name of my great grandmother and my great grandfather. And so you know, I have zero, like I said, I have zero, when I say goose egg, zero white ancestor, zero white relatives. So I might not be the darkest person, right? But I mean, like, I don't have any white relatives. I'm not biracial at all. Like, the only white ancestors that I can point to are the slave owners at the Tatnall plantation, right? Who I would assume, right, were raping my foremothers, and that the only reason why I'm of this hue is not because my family chose to intermarry with white people, but literally because of we were slaves, and because they raped my foremothers so that the kids ended up becoming lighter in hue, right? That's the only white ancestry that I have, and yet I'm not really black, or I'm not black enough for some people. I hope it's not because of my skin color, but that's kind of what I'm starting to get here. And so I wanted to read to you all just a small snippet from the Willie Lynch letters, because I feel like it really encapsulates a lot of the internalized thought processes that have been fed to us and that we have bought into as Black people, that would cause us to police each other, to police each other's speech, to police each other by color, right? So to say, well, you can't speak on behalf of the Black community because you're not dark enough. You know, ignore the fact that I wear my hair in an afro, right? Ignore the fact that the people that I'm speaking about, Fani Willis, you know, who straightens her hair to look more white, right? And then Tiffany Henyard, who I believe wears weaves of women who are of Indian and or Brazilian or some type of more white ancestry. Ignore the fact that they have taken measures to whiteify their appearance, and I actually just wear my natural hair as it is. Like, I literally wash my hair, and then that's it. I put a little bit of afro oil in it, and I put a little bit of leave-in conditioner in it, and this is just how my hair grows right out of my head. That's it. But that's not enough for me to be Black, right? So if I were to straighten my hair but have the right philosophy, ideology, then I would be Blacker than if I actually embrace my natural Blackness, despite the fact that I'm not the darkest person or something, or because despite the fact that I'm free thinking. And so I really wanted to read to you all, because I think maybe some of y'all haven't heard this in some time, or maybe have never read it at all. A small section of the Willie Lynch letters. And I wanted to read to you this portion where it says, it's simply talking about indoctrination of Black slaves. And Willie Lynch, regardless of whether, you know, this is authentic or not, was said to have been a slaveholder in, where was he a slaveholder? In the West Indies, which is now Jamaica. And that he was invited to the American colonies, and this is in the 1700s, was invited to the American colonies, supposedly, to teach the white slaveholders how to indoctrinate people in their mind so that they would have the mind of a slave, and so that they would now begin to police the other slaves, police their language, police their behavior. So now the slaveholder himself would no longer have to do it. All he has to do is just indoctrinate this first generation of slaves, and now from then on they will continue to police each other. It says, I shall give you an outline of action, but before that I shall assure you that distrust is stronger than trust, and envy stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration. The Black slaves, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Don't forget, you must pitch the old Black male amongst the young Black male, and the young Black male against the old Black male. You must use the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves, and the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male, and the male versus the female. You must also have white servants and overseers who distrust all Blacks, but it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. And this is referring to us, the white slave holders. They must love and respect and trust only us. Gentlemen, these are your keys to control. Use them. Have your wives and children use them. Never miss an opportunity. If used intensely for 1 year, the slaves themselves will remain perpetually distrustful. Thank you, gentlemen. Now, I invite you all to read this. I will put a link in the description for this entire text so you can read it for yourself. But I just wanted to say that, you know, again, I have spent my career focused on uplifting the Black community through preaching, through democratic politics. And I'm going to make way more videos about this topic and about the state of the Black community and a whole bunch of other things that I think are relevant, because I feel like I come from an interesting perspective. But I think that it's very fascinating that I believe this type of information, right, regardless of whether it actually is a real letter or real speech or whether it was fabricated later, appears to me to be very true. And that for some reason, we as a Black community are, you know, anyone who has the audacity to speak what they see as true, right? To just say, you know, I have a question about this. Like, let me raise my hand and say, you know, I know we've all been told this, but is that really true? You know, I know we've all been told that we're supposed to vote Democrat this whole time, but is that really true? Have the Democrats really had our back? Have the Democrats really improved our communities? Because I'm really at the point where I'm asking the question. I'm not saying I have the answer to this, but I am asking the question as this election comes forth. Have the Democrats really had the back of Black people? Have our voting as a monolithic bloc over the past 40 plus years for Democrats, has that actually benefited our communities? Because the way I see our communities having a lot of trouble right now, I'm not sure that voting Democrat this whole time has actually benefited us in the way that we were told. You know, and it appears, again, you can tell me if I'm wrong, I know you will, but it appears that the Democratic Party and people like Joe Biden are using these tactics. Literally, we hear him say it.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump and you ain't Black.
If you have to even think about whether or not you're going to vote for us and you aren't Black, right? And, you know, I take offense. I feel like that to me is the height of racism for a white man to tell me as a Black woman what it means to be a Black person and what it means to think as a Black person. A white person can't tell me that. You know, and the fact that we've bought into this, and now we're trying to beat down other Black people simply who want to ask the question, who want to hold us accountable, you know, for our actions, who want to actually improve the community and not just hide things under the bucket, right, or under the rug, right, but want to really ask questions. Those of us who want to even just think for ourselves are supposedly no longer even Black. And so I wanted to ask this question for you all, which is, what does it mean to be Black? Is it an ancestry, or is it a culture, or is it a mindset? So, you know, and I think we need to be careful when we start saying that people like me aren't really Black, because then, you know, that takes out a whole bunch of other Black people who have done a lot for us who would not also be Black, because I have no white ancestors at all except for the slave owners who raped my foremothers. And I hope that people are not, because I'm not the darkest person, that makes me not Black or makes me not able to speak, you know, about the community. You know, I feel like that is inherently the Willie Lynch letters. And I think we really need to rethink what is Blackness, and do Black people have to exist as a monolith? Do we all have to vote the same way just because we have African ancestry? And I just wanted to really ask that question. Now, I'm going to follow this up with a few more videos. I'm not going to say too much about it, but different politicians and whether or not they have actually, I know they say they're on behalf of the Black community, but what the actual results have been. And so I'm going to leave that there. And I know you will. I want to know in the comments what your opinion is. What is being Black? Is Blackness an ancestry, or is it a mindset or a culture? And, you know, is it, if I'm not Black, then I would like to know, what am I? And what would you say that I am? And, you know, if Blackness is not, you know, wearing my fro and spending my life really doing things to help improve the Black community, then what is Blackness? Is it that I have to believe a certain set of things? And if that set of things is listed somewhere, let me know so that I might renew my Black card. And as always, I appreciate your feedback. You guys are so awesome for all your comments. This has been a lot of fun. And I will see you on the next one. Please make sure to like, subscribe, share this to someone who might find it to be interesting or might be triggered by it. Either way, as always, I love you guys, and I will see you on the next one. Peace. I hope you get a bottle of Afro oil today.
Fake entertainment.